Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, this is Joanne Victoria with another amazing and interesting podcast, the Sanity Project podcast. We are here with my special guests to awaken your mind to clarity and success. And clarity and success come in all shapes and sizes. Our guest today is Ann Spagna, and she is a best-selling author, speaker, spiritual teacher, Ascension guide, multidimensional channel, intuitive animal communicator, energy healer, and the list goes on. Lightworker is a good one for me as well. Ann assists others to awaken to their alignment with the true divine source, which exists within each and every being so that all beings can live their best life ever. Lori's been around the block 6 times and more, and has more topics to talk about that we can hardly cover here today in one podcast, but we're going to cover one today, and then we'll see where it goes, and then I will definitely have Lori back for another session at a future date. Today we're going to talk about one of the books that Lori has written about called Manifestation Made Easy, Create the Life of Your Dreams Using the Power of Conscious Intention and Deliberate Creation. But before we have Ann Spagna talk about that, I want her to tell you, the audience, how she got to where she is today. I mean, she is profound. She's extremely well-rounded and cares about the world and the people that live in it. So, Ann Spagna, tell us, how did you get here?
Well, hello again, Joanne, and thank you again for having me. I just wanted to say that online. Thank you so much. I'm excited about our conversation today. How did I get here? You know what happened? My story is that really, after college, I graduated college. I spent 20 years in corporate America on what I call the hamster wheel. And I now lovingly refer to myself then as a good slave. And I was really, during those 20 years in corporate America, miserable. I really was. I was coping and making the best of it. But what I was doing was adapting with all kinds of unhealthy behaviors to compensate for my unhappiness. So those unhealthy behaviors were things like excessive smoking, excessive drinking, excessive spending, excessive caffeine, excessive partying, and excessive weight gain. And of course, I was going to doctors who were filling me up with excessive pharmaceutical drugs and everything. And I mean, the story goes on and on, right?
Right.
But ultimately, what ended up happening was that was my catalyst, my catapult forward and to shift and transform my experience was that my brother died of an unexpected drug overdose. And after his death, I started realizing that I could still connect with him. I could hear him telepathically. I could receive and engage in information exchange with him, communication. And that was my wake-up call. And that was his big message was like, you're on a similar trajectory to me. You have to change everything you're doing. You have to change your life and your ways. And that's what I did. And I'll just wrap this up, my part of the story with, it didn't take long. Within 2 years of me sort of aligning with my right path, all the cigarettes were gone forever. 2 packs a day for 20 years, gone within 2 years. Over like 60 pounds of body weight was gone within 2 years. Over $100,000 in bad credit card debt was gone within 2 years. All the alcohol completely gone. Now it's not part of my life at all. All the pharmaceutical drugs, and I have not needed nor taken any over-the-counter or pharmaceutical drugs now it's over 15 years. So, and I started my own business. I aligned with my true journey. So all that stuff was gone from my life, and that's where it all started, really. That's where the good stuff starts.
Well, I hope everybody's listening, because one of the many important reasons that I ask people, how did they get here? Where did they start? What was the trigger? And it's to help people pay attention to what is going on in their own lives. And I know you help people do that as well. But to pay attention to what is going on in their own lives so that they too, if they're not satisfied with their life, if they're unhappy, if they're disillusioned, if they're also overweight, overdrugged, overworked, overcaffeinated, they have something to look forward to if they pay attention to the signs. And we all receive signs, whether we know it or not, but you have to be a little bit awake to do that.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about manifesting made easy. What would you tell someone who has a dream? They think they have a dream, and it might not be the right dream, but it's something that'll get them on their path. How can they manifest? They're starting their own business. They think about leaving their own corporate environment, their own messed up corporate environment that is not healthy for them in any way, shape, or form. And I have many of those people. And what do they do? How can they manifest something in their own lives that's new and different and healthier?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to understand that if you have a dream for something, it's within you. It already exists. It already exists in terms of quantum physics. The risks that you have to take to align yourself with that's the scary part, right? And the process of manifesting is actually just a process of using your own higher awareness. We'll talk about the whole process, but it's just a process of using your higher awareness to align more fully with who you're meant to become. So if you have a dream, it's in you. It's not because it's unavailable to you. It's because it's calling you from your future version of you. Who you become is calling you, who you are now, to bring you into alignment with it. So if you understand, even from quantum physics, that it already exists, you already exist in a point in time and space where you're already engaging in that. You're already having that life. You're already having that experience. You're already living your dreams, fulfilling them. And there's new things from that point. If you understand that, it's more like, okay, well, what are the right and appropriate steps to take? And how do I manifest and materialize that into my physical form? So that's the first thing to me, is if you understand that from that higher perspective and you embrace that wisdom within yourself, now it's just a matter of what's the journey going to be like and how am I going to experience it? So far, does that make sense?
Well, it certainly makes sense to me, and I know it makes sense to most, if not all, of our listeners. Whether they believe in quantum physics or not, it is.
Right.
You can't change something that, well, you can if you can try, if that's where you want to fight your battles, but it already exists. It is a thing,
right,
as they say today. It's a thing.
Exactly. Well, I love what you just said about whether you believe or not. It's like you can say you don't believe in gravity, but actually it's true. You can say you don't believe in a lot of things, but it doesn't matter. In the realm of physics and quantum physics, the laws of the universe and the spiritual laws and the laws of physics all agree. They all validate the same information from multiple perspectives. So this is a time for us to get over our disbelief and start realizing we have to awaken to fact. Fact is fact.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of ego involved in that, and or people don't have anything to say, so they'd rather fight you than join you. So,
you know what it is? If people don't know, they just don't know, and we've been so trained to disbelieve, to judge, to debate, to argue, to disagree, just like you said, to be critical. We've been so hyper trained as a human society in that it becomes very challenging for us to overcome our own disbelief and our own judgments and our own limited perspectives. But we are at a time on planet Earth where we are radically expanding in terms of our conscious awareness and what we're aware of, what we know, what science is validating. So it's up to us to really educate ourselves, or else we get left in the dust in our own ignorance, right? And that's not to judge anyone or make anyone wrong or bad. That's just as humanity is evolving. This is what's going on.
Yeah, I think
opportunity to learn, right?
Absolutely. I think people are, for some reason, and I don't know why, it's just a waste of energy, but are so overly sensitive or sensitized themselves to things that, number one, they have nothing to do with, and that just creates more negativity, in my experience, than anything else. I mean, the fact of the matter is, quantum physics exists. If we have a thought, an idea, a dream in our minds and our bodies, it already is, that's a word,
yes.
People, is. And if you want it in a more defined form, or a nebulous form. That's your choice. But if you want it more specific, you make a plan.
Yes, exactly. Well, and the other thing is a lot of people don't realize the degree to which like the news and the mass media has affected us. So, I mean, I call it really mass brainwashing personally. I don't see almost anything on mainstream news, any of those mass media outlets to be true. To me, that's where the fake news is.
Well, there are no reporters per se. These are talking heads who just transfer information from one news outlet to another. This is not the day of people investigating. There's no such thing as investigative journalism. That's done, gone. Everything else is a lie. And you just have to ignore that. Don't read the newspapers. Don't watch the news on TV. Stay away from all that stuff, because all they're doing is making you a sheeple. And you just don't want that, truly. If you do want that, you don't want me or Lori Spagna. It's just, well, you know, we're not
they're probably not listening to this show anyway, because
that's true. They wouldn't be here.
They aren't really listening to both, you know.
Well, I always ask my listeners, if you're listening to this, share it with somebody else. Tell the world about it. Tell your friends, your frenemies, whoever you know, close, whatever, just have them listen to this and share it. I know it's important. And if somebody even has a hint, I think I think Mary would love to hear this show. So let's send this to Mary, wherever she is, or all the Marys in the world. So, okay, the dream is inside of you. And to make it a reality, what does one do?
Yeah. Okay. So from a manifestation point of view, when we're talking about manifesting, let's just define manifestation is a process that we engage in a conscious and deliberate way to physically actualize and experience situation or circumstance that we desire. So when I'm using the word manifestation, that's what I'm saying. So how do we manifest? So we're using the non-physical realm and our own higher intelligence, our higher wisdom, higher awareness to create something in the physical world. So the first step with that is knowing that the non-physical world is real, which we just basically spoke about that. The non-physical world is just as real as the physical world. And the non-physical world and those things we do not see, sense, feel with our five senses is just as real. Those are our extrasensory abilities. So that's what we're really tapping into. That's first. Number one, beyond that, we must set an intention and be clear. I intend XYZ. And that intention is going to be for ourselves without including or excluding necessarily any other particular individual. In other words, you can't say, I intend to marry Robert Redford. That's someone else's free will. You can't coerce or manipulate or dominate someone else's free will. That goes against the laws of the universe. So the intention is that you're going to create something in very particular, which does not interfere with any other individual's free will. That's number one. Use a clear intention. I intend to have a private swimming pool in my home, my next home, with a saltwater swimming pool. That's a good intention, okay? Or I intend to have an experience where I have new relationships that are so fulfilling and rewarding and based on mutual love, appreciation, honor, respect, dignity, whatever. You can intend for anything. However, it just can't be at the expense of anyone else or at the coercion or manipulation of any individual. Okay, that's number one. Number two is you have to start understanding that in order to experience and align yourself with that, you have to become vibrationally compatible, energetically compatible. So the part of you that's in a want or a desire right now must start to realize the energy of that experience in your now moment. So that means, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What would your life be like? Who would you be? What experience would you be experiencing internally and externally if it was here now? Because you're aligning yourself vibrationally with the part of you, with the aspect of you that's already has it. So you have to become that in the here now moment. So Manifestation involves a very internal process where you very often will close your eyes, start to see it, sense it, feel it within your body, and experience it and make it real from within. And then after you open your eyes, even after it's done, you don't just go back to your old way of being. You start living like as if it's here now, as if it's, what would it feel like right now? How would it be right now? How would you behave right now? If it's $1 million, for example, how would you behave right now as a millionaire? If it's a new career, okay, what would be the first thing you would do right now? So you're still doing things in your physical reality, but you're also working with your non-physical by changing and shifting your internal energetic frequency and vibration with your mind, your mental, your emotional, your whole field, your whole energetic body and being. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. I'm just floating into what you're saying here, and I'm going somewhere, and I don't know where I'm going. So something is happening. Well, something is happening while you're talking, and which is I accept. I have many guests who are in the spiritual world and work in that, and everybody's different. Yet when I'm speaking to them, things happen within me, and I'm grateful for that because I only look on it as being good and beneficial. And I want everybody that's listening to know that even by speaking to someone and listening to what someone has to say, you are changed.
Yes.
You are moved off your stuck-to-itiveness, whatever, not the stick-to-itiveness where you stick with something that you believe in, but where you are stuck, where your foot is in the wedge in the road and you can't get out. Mm-hmm. This opportunity to listen to someone who lives a more spiritual, open, manifested life, has a conversation with you, with me, on a different level. And it really, it gets there. It works. I'm an example. I'm just telling everybody that's what it happens. And I'm not a resistor. A little bit, but by and large, I'm open to this. I have been open to this for decades. I don't even want to say how many, but I've been open to this world for decades and have chosen this path, not as creative or as powerful right now as Lori Ann's is, but it's just still there. I believe in spirituality. I believe in, all the things that Lori Ann Spagna is talking about.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Joanne. I want to say also that what you're saying there is so true. So what we know is that when we have a conversation like this, we have a mini 100th monkey effect. We have a ripple effect. And all of that is also based on energetics. So when you say you're experiencing something that you feel and you're aware of consciously is shifting within yourself, even though you might not be able to at this moment directly identify it, that literally is the case. That is so true. It's that there is, from every energetic vibration, and every energetic vibration is like a wave in the ocean. It's like it ripples into all the other waves and has a quantum effect. And so this is why humanity is shifting in such a massively quantum way right now. Really, humanity's waking up, and the birth of the internet is one of the greatest gifts in that sense that we ever gave ourselves, because we get to experience this kind of thing through conversation, just like what we're having. And it triggers people and shifts them, and you become more vibrationally aligned. So it's that same thing, even that many of our ascended masters, such as Jesus or Buddha, talked about, or Krishna, when they said, the light will shift you. They talked about things like the vibrational frequency. They might not have used those words, but they basically said you always rise to the occasion. They are all saying the same thing in different ways. It's like you become resonant with that. That's the lighter frequencies. And that's what we're doing here. We're just rising frequencies. We're all being affected by it in a positive and mostly really harmonious way.
Oh, I totally agree and believe and join in all of this. And that's one of the main reasons this podcast is one of the main reasons I created the podcast to begin with a couple of years ago, is that I wanted people such as yourself to let people who were living too tightly in the left side of their brain to open themselves up to other possibilities.
Yes.
And it's just they were wherever they are, they need to know more. They know more about themselves than they're willing to express, and they're afraid to let that be known because of judgments from other people, themselves as well. Self-judgment is almost the worst. And they need to hear that there are other ways of doing things, not left brain ways of doing things, but, let's just label it spiritual ways of manifesting what you want. Believing in quantum physics, believing in, or choosing to at least tread into that territory and live there for a while, rent a space in a place that is powerful, forward-thinking, and caring, if that makes any sense.
Well, and the other thing too is it's a huge part of it is about believing in yourself and really understanding that you're worthy and deserving of it. You're worthy and deserving because you exist, whoever you are. And that future version of yourself, I mean, just even if you don't think of it in terms of spiritual or metaphysical ways, you're going to live for X amount more time, however long that is. We don't all know exactly or precisely, but that future version wants to be happy. She or he wants to be fulfilled. She or he wants to have meaning in life. She or he wants to know that you have value, that you made a contribution, and that your life matters. So the now version of you, whoever you are, must give that as a gift to the future version by becoming it now. And the future version of you gives a gift to the version of you you are now by helping guide you and lead you. Because that future version of you is literally, I teach this in all my classes and all my workshops. That future version of you is the dream calling you. We said this, to it. So it's really more about recognizing, you have a life and it matters. Your life matters and what you do matters. And you've been trained, our society has been trained and just indoctrinated into this mediocrity. Life sucks and then you die, by being shown images on mass media of constant war and fighting and suffering and misery and bad news. And so you get wired into that and programmed into that through no fault of your own as an individual necessarily, but you do get to make a new choice. And the choice is that you matter, that you have worth, that you have value, and that you're here for a reason.
Yeah, nothing much in that arena has changed in the last several years, beyond several years, that there's always something that is going to try to lure you away from feeling that you are worth something, as I know many people, why was I born? They don't understand that the fact that they were born is sufficient, because in this huge puzzle that we have of this world, there's a space for your piece to fit. And even if you do nothing beyond what you're doing now, your piece is there. So it would probably be more beneficial to you and everyone else that you know to work that piece, accept that you're here to benefit others, because to me that's all there is. We're here for the benefit of others. And if we all think that way, how profound it could be.
Yes. And I would say too that, it's never we are here for the benefit of others. We're also here for the benefit of ourselves.
Sure. First,
I use the words with harm to none, with zero debt incurred. Now, if you understand, zero debt incurred means all benefit, none are harmed, and there is no future karma. And if you make that your way of operating, okay, we, in our human being aspect, self, we may make mistakes, but mistakes can be easily forgiven once we claim the lesson of those. We learn, we grow, we evolve, we make change, we provide some form of quality contribution to our world. So if you're living by that as kind of like your general mantra, to the greater good or the greatest possibilities for the positive upliftment of all, including self, with harm to none, zero debt incurred. If you make that your mantra and you start living that way to the best of your ability, life for you and everyone else will dramatically improve.
I totally agree. So, Lorianne, would you tell people about your free MP3 classes that are, I think they're on your website, that lorispagna.com, LORISPAGNA.com.
Yeah. Well, so first, if people are interested in generally, like a lot of the stuff that I do is very spiritual, involving changing and shifting our inner being. And yes, there's manifestation stuff. There's stuff for our animals and learning animal communication and telepathy. There's a lot of stuff about developing your intuitive gifts. Where they can go to get tons of great free gifts is lorispagna.com. I'll spell it, but it's lorispagna.com/free gifts. And they can also get a gifted, what we call a DNA activation that really activates our dormant potential that's lying dormant in our dormant DNA. And that would be lorispagna.com/free gifts/DNA. So I'll spell my name just so people have it. It's LORISPAGNA. And so, yeah, there's lots of great free gifts, really good, really content-rich gifts. Just go to lorispagna.com/free gifts, and you'll get them. And there's more there on the website when you kind of look around.
Yes, for our listeners, I was on Lori's site actually more than once and saw all of this interesting information. And it's always nice to have somebody who you've heard speak on one of my podcasts to provide you with something that you can use. And it's even better, at least in the beginning, is how you get to learn about somebody else. And she's giving you free information. And in hopes, of course, that at some point in time you do hire her, because why not? I want to thank Ann Spagna for being here today. Remember, she is a best-selling author, speaker, spiritual teacher. Lori is a visionary, and Lori has given us a great deal of information today. And as I say all the time, please re-listen to this podcast, because even if you were taking notes, you missed things. If you were not taking notes, re-listen and take notes. Because this is what's important, that you have that hand to the paper, not the computer, the hand to the piece of paper, because you're recording it in your body while you're writing it. Anyway, I want to thank Lorianne for being here today, and she's a very busy woman, and for her to take time to be on our show, I think is incredible. And for those of you who are looking for some free stuff from me, go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com, and you will find a free book, The True Self Handbook, A Guide to Transform Your Life. And you could sign up for my newsletter that you will receive posts almost every day from me, because I live to take care of you guys. And everybody have a great and wonderful day. Thanks, Lori, for being here.
Thanks so much, Joanne.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.